So welcome then everyone to this session on supporting systematic reviews on the EBSCOhost interface. We're looking at part one. This is the searching aspect. So in this 60-minute session, you'll be introduced to the concept of searching the literature to support systematic reviews from the initial framing of a question, searching for both keywords, subject terms for CINAHL and MEDLINE on the EBSCOhost interface. Now, haste to add, this is the new interface. Some of you have already switched to it, migrated to it. Others are yet to transition to it. Part two will cover the matter of processing or managing your search results. That includes exporting, saving, and so on. So we won't get into that in this session. You'll need to sign up for part two for that if you've not already done so. For those who've not met me before, I attended one of my webinars. I'm Richard Crooks. I work for the EBSCO Customer Training Services. In terms of the session itself, I hope that by the end of it, you'll be able to describe the key steps in searching in support of systematic reviews. That's our focus, as it were. You'll be able to plan an appropriate search strategy using the PICO or PICO framework, depending on which elements you want to use of PICO. Locate and use methodological search filters. That will give you additional clues. You may do that ahead of time to find what's been done before, other systematic reviews, method analyses, etc., randomized control trials. And it may also give you more clues as to what terms you should be using when searching for the appropriate topic. And also, you'll be able to find further support for EBSCO's research databases. So I hope that's what you're expecting for this session. I know for some of you, this is a refresher. You may have been on this several months ago. You're aware that there are developments taking place with the new EBSCO interface. There are new releases, and I will introduce you to some this afternoon before we get into the live demonstration. And some of those you may see working live as well. So first of all, just to set the scene, going back to the basics, what is a systematic review? Now, I'm sure most of you are well versed with what this is, but for those who aren't, it is a review of a clearly formulated question that uses systematic and explicit methods to identify, select, and critically appraise, research, and to collect and analyze data from the studies that are included in the review. And that's just one of many definitions that you'll find in the literature. So I've highlighted the key elements that we're looking at today. It's really the clearly formulated question. We'll have one to work with, and also the systematic and explicit methods, which can be documented based on what you do within this interface. So with that in view, just to set the scene further, the goal, of course, in supporting systematic reviews is you're attempting, if you're either a contributor to this or you're actually doing this yourself, attempting to identify all studies, and some might say the majority of studies, since that may not be quite possible to fulfill, that could meet the eligibility criteria for this particular topic or question in view. So it is pretty comprehensive, extensive, in-depth searching that we're looking at. And we have the key points regarding the search steps. And I am focusing on the identification of what's out there. We won't be looking at critical appraisal or synthesizing the evidence, etc. We are merely looking at initially understanding the research question itself. So we do have one to work with. And then turning the question into a viable search strategy. And that uses both keywords, free text searching, and subject headings. So the likes of mesh headings, medical subject headings for MEDLINE, or the CINAHL headings, the control recovery for the CINAHL database. Now, there's some debate whether keyword searching should be unqualified or simply title and abstract. So we'll look at those. And then thirdly, we want to factor in the use of truncation, syntax for the EBSCO interface, the use of wildcards, and also proximity or precision search operators to enhance the information retrieval, to ensure that we're finding what's out there on this particular topic or question in view. So we do have a research question, as I've indicated. So this is in adult cancer patients experiencing fatigue. What is the effect of meditation compared with standard care on quality of life within 6 months? So in the 6-month time frame. So as you can appreciate, and I know some of you may have seen this example or others that I've run before, I have highlighted the key elements for this research question. On occasion, some might dispute these, but I think these are pretty obvious, as it were, should I say. So we have adult cancer patients, we've got fatigue, we've got meditation, standard care, quality of life, and then within 6 months. So since we're using the PICO or PICO framework, and obviously with PICO, we can include the time or possibly a type of study if appropriate for the PICO question, as it were, or framework. So we've got these 5 elements: the patient, population of problem. So we specifically looking at adult cancer patients. So they could be either male, female. They could be young adults, older adults, no age limit set here. Obviously, those with cancer, and it could be a variety of cancer. It could be colorectal, could be lung cancer, could be breast cancer, etc. And they've also got fatigue. They're experiencing fatigue as well. So then we've got the meditation as the intervention. We've got standard care. Quality of life is the outcome, and also within 6 months. Now, we're not going to search for all these elements. I have highlighted 3 there essentially. The first being the patient or population group, so adults with cancer. So that could be neoplasms or oncology in the literature. It can be referred to as tumor or tumors, malignancy, and then with fatigue, it could be tiredness, lethargy, exhaustion, for example. And then the third row, we've got the equivalent mesh or CINAHL heading. So it depends on which database we're using. They may vary. So adult is a CINAHL heading, a mesh term, I believe. Neoplasms, fatigue, of course, these are subject headings used by indexers to assign to articles about adult cancer, etc. Then we've got the intervention. So we will be looking at meditation specifically, but then we've got mindfulness, breathing techniques, relaxation techniques, yoga, etc. Other synonym keywords that we could be searching for to ensure that we find what's out there. And then again, the third row in uppercase, the equivalent mesh terms or CINAHL headings, depending on which database we're going to be using. So meditation, yoga, relaxation techniques, and there's more. Now, we're not going to do a direct comparison with standard care. That's kind of implied. So we're not going to search for standard care. Some may argue that we should, or standard treatment, but we'll leave that alone for now. There's also the outcome, of course, that we're looking at, and that's with the use of meditation, improving the quality of life for patients. So quality of life, quality of living, life quality, well-being, etc. And you see the subject term quality of life in uppercase. And again, with the time or type of study, obviously type of study, it could be a trial, could be a clinical trial, etc. It could be a meta-analysis, but we're not going to focus that much at this time in that area, and we're not going to specify the time zone. But I just wanted to give you, or the time frame, some idea of how we might use this particular element of PICO or PICOT. So that's the framework, and that's going to form the basis of the demonstration search that I run today. And of course, you could consider other terms that could be factored into this. And of course, when we're starting out, a couple of things. First of all, we don't know all the terms that we could be using. We may find that through the literature that we identify. We will not necessarily know the CINAHL headings or the mesh terms. There are ways to do that. So, I know some institutions will explore the mesh CINAHL headings first, and then from that, they will then determine what keyword searches they should be running as well. So again, you may do this in a reverse order, but we'll start with keyword in the demonstration shortly. Now, a couple of things. I mentioned at the beginning that there's some debate whether when you're supporting a systematic review, when you're searching literature in support of a review, you should be performing a title or abstract search or an unqualified search. Now, I wanted to cover both, at least in the initial introduction, because that may be the way that you take it. And at least one university I did some training for, they encourage their students to run unqualified keyword searches as opposed to a title or an abstract search. So for CINAHL and MEDLINE, there are slight differences in terms of the background searching when doing unqualified search. That means you're not selecting from the drop-down list. So all fields is the default search for this advanced search page. There are search rows that you see on screen here. So that means when you search CINAHL, any keyword searched which is not qualified would search for the term or terms within the title, abstract, or subject headings, the fields there, the PubMed ID if appropriate, the DOI, and author fields. If you compare that to MEDLINE, there are a few more fields. There's the registry word, there's the personal name, transliterated title, and so on. So there are some differences between searching both databases, although we can search both using the same platform. So again, just bear that in mind. And again, there's an FAQ there about which fields can be searched using the all fields drop-down list. So it will vary between databases. The two I've highlighted, of course, are CINAHL, MEDLINE. You may use others like APA PsycInfo. You may use AMED, for example, other databases that may be not necessarily medical related as well. There's also a qualifier to that as well, because if you do an unqualified keyword search, then it will be impacted by your default search options and also the expanders. So by default, typically speaking, most instances or most accounts are using the proximity search mode as the default keyword search. That means you're searching for terms as they appear in any order, but with a specified word range. So for example, if you will put child obesity, then it'll be child near 5 words less of obesity, or obesity within or near 5 words less of obesity. That is configured behind the scenes in EBSCO admin, the admin tool. Some institutions have actually changed that. So for example, in the NHS in England, for their discovery service, they have rendered that phrase and its words as they appear next to each other in the order that you enter them. So it's possible to do the same in EBSCOhost, although most instances, as I said, use proximity as the default search mode. And I just point out, just a question here from Jules, does the unqualified search include authors in most all EBSCO databases? I believe it does. We do have database help files which detail an unqualified search for each database on the EBSCO's platform. So for example, if you use Academic Search Ultimate, it may be different. If you use Business Source, which also uses scholarly business information, it may be different as well. But I believe most do. But again, I can point you in the direction of where you can find that information specifically. So proximity search mode, that does impact an unqualified keyword search. So if you have find all my search terms selected, I know there are some accounts, I know that in the Nordics, there's some that do. That means you're basically combining search terms with the and operator. So again, using the same example, it'd be child and obesity, but not necessarily where the words appear next to each other or near each other. And I know some questions are coming fast and furiously as I speak. So again, a question from us. I won't be able to stop for all these. I may just address them at the end. But Sally says, just wondering about the term all fields displayed. To me, all fields would include the full text. Students might think that. Good point. Possibly. Again, we'd have to address that at another time. Yes. No. So Jules, can you adjust the automatic proximity as an individual user? No, you can't. You can change the search mode. So for example, if you do want to switch to find all, then you can, or find any, that's the or operator, you can switch, you can change, but you cannot change or reconfigure what the search mode does. That is done by administrators who have access to EBSCO admin. Okay, so yeah, so basically a proximity search is searching for words as they appear. It's not really using the Boolean logic as such. It's looking for words as they appear near each other or within a specified word range. So they may be adjacent, they may not be, or they may be in any order. So in that sense, it's not really a Boolean search as such. Again, use an example, child obesity. If you use find all or find any, that would be a Boolean search mode, because find all is and, find any is or. But proximity is where the words appear in the order you enter them or any order. So yeah, the Boolean search mode would be find all for and, or find any for or. Okay, for search mode. And of course, you can enter the Boolean operators in the search box as well. So I may need to cover some of these later on because obviously we need to move on, but there is information on the search modes in EBSCOhost as well. The other factor, again, there's also the EBSCO Connect context-sensitive help menu, which will give you details about each of the search modes and how they work, etc. The other factor that will impact an unqualified keyword search is using the expanders. So expanders do what they say. They broaden search results in EBSCOhost. Now, they broaden your search results, especially for apply-related words and also apply subjects based on the index terms that are also available. The only one that doesn't is also search within the full text. That will search through the citation fields as normal, but it will also expand to search within the full text article, book, chapter, etc. So if the PDF online full text is available, then it will search directly within that content. And that can be useful, especially where the evidence is scarce, or the results are few, then you might want to expand the search, unqualified search, to that area, using that feature. Apply related words looks for synonyms related to your search term or terms, and also plurals. And then apply subjects is using the concept mapping system, mapping your keyword search to a particular concept, which in turn will retrieve items indexed with the related subject headings for that database. Again, we have an FAQ on this, or more information on that. So that's unqualified searching. Obviously, those things do impact unqualified search. However, if you're using a title abstract search, there's a different approach. We have the title abstract field code XB available from the drop-down menu. So you can perform a simultaneous title or abstract search. And again, we've got information on that from EBSCO Connect. So that will perform a search whether the term or terms appear in any of those fields or both. And you can see the Boolean query that I've constructed in this example using the OR operator. So this is title abstract searching now, which again, most of you may be using in support of a systematic review. Now, in addition to that, so that's keyword searching, we also have the use of the subheadings, and we recently introduced for the EBSCOhost interface, for the new interface, the suggest subject terms option. So what that will do is when you enter your keyword search term, for example, flu vaccine, and have suggested terms on, and you'll see it highlighted there, it will then change the search button to suggest terms. When you click suggest terms, it will then map your keyword search to the preferred index term within, in this case, mesh, okay, MEDLINE, and it could be the equivalent for CINAHL as well. So depending which version, which database you're using, it works in the same way. So suggested terms can be switched on. It can be enabled on by default so that each time a user does a keyword search, they're directed automatically to the appropriate subject heading, as it were. So again, that's available and a useful way to identify what subject terms are out there, especially if you're building your query, as it were, and obviously identifying the terms you should be using. But that is new, relatively new to this interface. So again, once you've identified that subject heading, you can select it, click add to search, and it'll run the search, bring back results index with that term. So just a couple of things there I wanted to highlight. There is more, but we'll move on to these feature updates because these are just recently, not long released. So as of April, there is an option to edit combined searches. You may have known that with the search history displayed that you could edit a single line of search. Now you can enter a combined set. So in other words, if you have S1 or 2 and you need to add another set to that, you can add that to it, etc. So this is relatively new, and you can edit the subqueries as well. Again, some examples of how this looks. So once you click the edit option, it'll present you with these forms. It will identify the search query, and wherever you see edit search, it will allow you to make changes to that query, whether it's an error or additional terms that you wish to add to that set, as it were. Again, these slides will be available to you to explore in detail further. Okay. Now, another feature that's been released recently, so back in April, I think towards the end of April, is the display of hit count. So now with the interface, and hopefully we'll see that live, the total results are displayed at the top of the screen, but in support of Prisma guidelines, the Prisma checklist, the unique results, so the deduplicated results will be displayed at the end of the result list. So you will see a number displaying the unique results from that result set. Okay, so again, that's been asked for, it's been requested, it's been implemented now for EBSCOhost. Okay, so that you should see that. Obviously, you will need to go to the end of the result list to view the unique results. So the total hit count will be displayed at the top. The deduplicated result list number will be displayed at the end of the result list. Also, some search history improvements, long awaited as it were. There's the expanded bulk action toolbar where you have the download option, the save option, add to project option, and now also includes the delete option, so you can select all your search history to delete it, especially if you want to rerun another search, etc. Okay, so the delete option is now, so it's now possible to delete not only individual lines of the search, but also the complete search history itself. You can also view the results without incurring a new set number. So if you click on the number of results, the hit count for a particular set number or line, then it will display that specific result set in the result list, but it will not duplicate the search string and show that in the search history. We also have a save icon on individual set numbers as well, so you can actually save an individual set number as appropriate. Okay, so you can think ways why you want to do that, but that is now available. So again, we should see these in the demonstration. So there's some things that have been released recently. There's more coming, especially next month, and I'll refer you to a document where that will detail some of those things. In terms of truncation wildcards, we have these standard ones that are applicable. They've been applicable to EBSCOhost in the past on the classic interface. Ones commonly used are probably truncation, phrase searching. So truncation, you can truncate terms, for example, for diabetes, diabetic, you can place the asterisk after the T. For ventilator pneumonia, if you're looking also for ventilator associated pneumonia, ventilator acquired pneumonia, then you can insert the asterisk between the two terms. That'll find all three variations. Double quotation marks for exact phrase searching. So for influenza vaccine, that will find at least one occurrence within the results list, within those records of that phrase being mentioned. You will also see those words also highlighted separately as well by default. So that doesn't mean that you've not found at least one occurrence of the exact phrase. And there are instances with hidden metadata from the publisher that it might not be immediately obvious why the record has been retrieved, but we do have fields that are hidden to the user. Again, that's something which to be aware of. So wildcard, so single character replacement, for example, organization or woman or women, replace the appropriate letter there, character with the question mark. And for alternate spelling, you can use the hash wildcard. So for example, pediatrics, P hash, ED, etc. would find both variations, and color with O hash R for the alternate spelling, and also behavior IO hash R. Okay, we do have more information again available via EBSCO Connect, and the link is shown here. Now, before we get to live demonstration, which we'll do very shortly, we also have the proximity or precision operators near within. I've kind of mentioned this already with the proximity search mode. So the proximity search mode is using the near operator, or N. So, and I've used the same number there, N5. So gallbladder N5 disease means you'll retrieve articles with the word gallbladder near 5 words or less of disease, or disease near 5 words or less of gallbladder. Okay, regardless of the order. And you can specify the number. The number is literal. Other platforms may say, for example, ADJ5, it means 4 words or less. Within the EBSCO's interface, this is a literal number. Okay, so that's the near operator, and within is more restrictive because it retrieves words as they appear in the order you enter them. So again, some have configured the search mode proximity to be phrase and put W0, which would be treating it as the phrase. Although I would still say the double quotation marks is the alternate way of searching for exact phrases. So W8, charted W8 would be charted within 8 words of obesity, but not vice versa. Multiple terms, as you might guess, can be used on either side of the operator. So if you're looking at flu, if there's a vaccine or vaccinations, then in parentheses, I've got flu or influenza near 3 words or less of vaccine, of truncated vaccine. So that could be vaccine, vaccinations, vaccines, vaccinated, vaccinations, vaccinated. You know, the variations, in other words, of those things. Just another comment there from Jules. We don't have this just subject terms checkbox yet. If you put a list of all keywords, for example, so there's an example there, can it search for subject terms for all of these at once, or can it only do one at a time? Good question. I've not tried that yet. So in other words, you're saying if you put substance use or substance abuse or alcohol, and then click suggest subject terms, what would you end up with? We can possibly have a look at that. I'm not sure yet. It may well be a variety of those. It may focus on the first one. I'm not absolutely sure of that yet. I've not tried that. That's a good point. Again, some of these things I may need to refer to post-session, so we'll collate these questions, comments, and provide more in-depth answers as needed. But just to move on here, we're already halfway through the session, so I want to now go and just do the live demonstration. So let me just go now and share my screen with you. You should now see we've got the CINAHL database open on the advanced search landing page. This is my default entry point, and this I'm sure is true for most of your institutions, for library services, and you're directing users to this page for advanced level searching. So again, based on the PICO searching, I'm going to start off with the title abstract search. So I'm going to default to that. So from the drop down, I can use XB here, and I can add adult, and truncate adult. So that will be adult, adulthood. I can also add even the phrase grown up or grown ups. So if we've got grown up here, then that may be an alternative expression to adults, etc. So I'll run the search here for these terms within the title abstract field. So I click search here. And once I've done that, you'll now see the results are appearing below. Importantly, I've got the search history. So it gives me the set number, the search string. I've got XB here. You can see I've used truncation here, exact phrase searching. Unfortunately, now phrase search is saying this because I have been playing around with the demonstration site and I forgot to change this back. But I should say proximity, by the way. It's just I've reworded that. I've not changed the search mode, but in any case, these will not necessarily be impacting this particular search because I'm now using the field codes. I've got the results here. You can see now the results is hyperlinked, which means that if I was looking at other sets in the same search history, I could click on this link and I'll be brought back to this results set if I want to look at that more closely. Database is still showing what we're searching, the database, and we've got the save tab, so I can actually click on that and save this particular search set. Maybe if I got interrupted and I want to come back to this, then I could save it. And then you have the kebab menu or the tools menu, which gives you the option to edit this search as well if you want to add other terms. So if you can edit search here, for example, go to edit search, then I can add other terms if I feel I should add something more here than I did. So for example, if I were to put age to include older people, then I could do that here, update the search, Click continue, because obviously there's no age limit on this patient group that we're aware of at this time. And then close that, and you'll see I've now increased my hits here. Okay, so again, it's quite straightforward to edit a search string, even as you're working your way through this, whether you make a mistake or you simply want to add other terms. So in addition to that, of course, we want to make use of the subject authority, the CINAHL headings. So for that, I can click new search here, go to CINAHL headings, or I can make use of suggest subject term. So if I try this now, so I've got adult, and I will put in or here, aged, and just see what we get. I've not tried this, so let me see based on Jules's question. So suggest subject terms, I select it. This now changes to suggest terms. And I have adult here, and interestingly, I do have aged here as well. So you can see that. Now, one thing you'll notice also, the option to explode is also on here. So if I click adult here, you can see it's used for adults, not surprisingly. It does give you an indication that adult as a CINAHL heading is for those 19 to 44 years of age. So there's also young adult, of course. If we scroll down, you'll see we've got adult here, and we've also got aged here, which with exploded on should include these also, aged, middle-aged, young adult as well. Okay, so by using the explode option, we are covering our bases, as it were. If we stuck merely with adult, then we would only have the younger age group as there are, or 19 to 44 years of age. Okay, so I'm going to add to search here. But importantly, it does appear to pick up the other age groups as well there. So in answer to the question, now what have I done here? Let me just check here. It's doing some interesting things today. Let me just clear this again. So what I'll do, I'll click adult here. That's it. And then go back, add to the search. And then, so you can see here, MH, it's a CINAHL heading, exact CINAHL heading, and the plus sign indicates it's including those other narrow terms as well. So young adult, aged as well. So click search here. And then that will appear in the search history, set 2. So we can combine the two immediately. We're looking at this age group specifically. So we can combine with or, and you see the string S2 or S1, the set number, sets there combined, and then click search here. Okay. Now you'll notice that the search itself is in reverse chronological order. So if you want to change the sequence and see it in more logical fashion, especially for reporting purposes, then click on the ID option, and then you can see the sequence S1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's the first part of the patient element. We're looking at adult cancer patients, but we also they've got cancer, right? So we need to also do a search for cancer as well. So I'm going to just check if there's any questions, but I'm hoping, yeah. Okay. Yes, so yes, say observe that, or will override the proximity mode. Yes, essentially. Yeah. Okay. So let me now search for the cancer element. So we're going to truncate cancer for cancerous or cancers. Look for oncology or oncologic. So we can also truncate that as well. And also neoplasms. Let's see, or malignancy again, or malignant. So again, we can truncate these terms and so on. And let's see, or tumor. Now, okay, so I did illustrate, you can use the hash wildcard for tumor or tumors. So just to illustrate that, you can see how that's used. And we'll perform a search again with the title answer fields and click search here. Okay, so that's so now we're looking at the second part of the patient problem, which is cancer, of course, and we want to find the equivalent subject term. So again, we can click new search here, or just simply stay on this page, and what I can do is cancer, and then select suggest subject terms, click suggest terms, and then we're directed to, as you can see here, neoplasms. So neoplasms is the CINAHL heading we should be using to retrieve articles about that subject, where they've been indexed with that. And now we have the scope note, of course. We can select neoplasms, but we can also select the related headings like cancer fatigue, cancer survivors, chemotherapy, oncology as well. and scroll down. And then with this is also exploded to include the other elements as well. So we can now jump back to the top, add to search, and you can see them combined using the Boolean OR, and click search here. So we've now obviously identified the appropriate CINAHL headings. So if we were using MEDLINE, we'd find obviously the equivalent mesh terms in the same fashion. So we can combine S4, S5, combine with OR. So this is the cancel-rated searches, the keyword search, combined with subject search. And then the third element for the, again, the initial element of PICO is of course, they're all experiencing fatigue in some way or other. So again, we can run a separate search for this. So we can go for fatigue, so I can truncate that, or exhaustion. So again, I can truncate for exhausted, likewise with lethargy or lethargic. Okay, and exertion. So again, just synonyms that we can think of. There may be others that we'll find later on, especially once we've looked at the literature and found some relevant articles. And again, title abstract search here. Okay, and that's again added S7. Again, notice in the search history, we have the results hyperlinked, so you can jump to any one of these sets and review them. You can also save them individually. So these are new features that have been recently released as well. And we can now go and explore the equivalent fatigue for the subject searching. And again, this is quite useful to use suggest subject terms, because I can simply put in my terms here. What I might do here is add or lethargy and see how we get on with this. Lethargy or exertion. Okay, I'm just going to try these three in response to the comment that was made earlier, and suggested the terms. So we have got exertion. Okay, we can explode that term. We've got fatigue. Likewise, exploded, and that's set automatically, by the way. Cancer fatigue we've already used in a sense. So let's see anything else here. Yeah. The exhaustion there, mental fatigue. Okay, so we'll use these ones for now and click add to search. Okay, so we've got those three terms. We'll click search. Again, these are the index terms. Again, you don't have to use suggested terms. I'm just showing you how to use it. I'm just getting a hang of it myself here. And then combining these two sets here with OR, and then click search. Now, what we've done, of course, is only the first element. So we're using the patient or problem or population group. We've got the intervention to do and the comparison. So again, if I resort these in sequence, we've got adult patients, obviously those with cancer and those experiencing fatigue. So we want all three elements as the first part of PICO or PICOT combined. So we use the Boolean AND for that. Okay, and then run the search here. So we should have now a set which basically is referring to adult cancer patients with fatigue. Okay, 12,000 records, and that set is displayed below. So now we want to move on further to the intervention itself, which is obviously meditation and related terms. So again, we'll start with our search and truncate. So that's meditate, meditated, or meditation. We'll look at mindfulness as well, or mindful. So truncate that. Breathing techniques or breath, or breathing. So we could put breath or breathing here. And also relaxation as well. And just truncating these terms to try and find as much as possible out there. Yoga is another one. You may recall that from the table that I had. And then or guided search, and we'll put that in double quotation marks. So again, I'm not saying this is exhaustive. There are maybe other terms that you would think about to include, but just to illustrate, and title abstract search again, and click search here. Okay, and you see the set S11 displayed below. Now for this one, I'm going to go directly to the CINAHL headings. So the headings under research tools, and I'm going to clear this, by the way, and this one, and search for meditation. Okay, so browsing the thesaurus now, the CINAHL thesaurus within CINAHL headings, and you can see here I've got the concept meditation. By the way, you have subheadings as well, but you can look at, for example, adverse effects with the scope note displayed, other elements if you want to focus within that specific subject area, as it were. But I'm going to go and click on meditation. It gives us the scope note. Okay, it also tells us that this heading is used also for transcendental meditation or meditations as well. So I'm going to select that. You can see the hierarchy here. Unlike using suggested terms, you can't see so much of that. You can see a little bit, but you see meditation is given here. And we've also got guided imagery as well. So this item cannot be exploded, by the way, so there's no checkbox, tick box for the explode column. So we can include relaxation techniques, by the way, or even mind body techniques to include those. Meditation there as well. And if we scroll down further, we might have yoga also there as well. Okay, so again, we could be running numerous iterations on this search before we agree on the terms they're using, but I'm just going to select these for now, and you see them collated in the top search box as the index terms, and click search here. And now those would appear in the search history as set 12. So what I can do, again, combine S11, S12, using the Boolean OR, making sure this is clear, by the way. If you're finding when you're using this, as it is right now in your institution, your library service, then you may need the clear find field. You may check if there's other terms that are stuck here from the previous search, because we have a clear find field option, which clears this so you can combine without joining other terms or other sets that you've run previously as well. So that's S11 or S12. Okay, and then we're going to look at the next element, which is, of course, the quality of life, etc. So with that, I did include references to the near operator within, etc. So I'm going to use some of this. So for this, I'm going to start with quality of life. Okay, so I'm going to put quality of life. I'll put these in parentheses for now. So quality of life, quality, let's see, near 2 words or less of life. So that can be life quality or quality of life, or I can add QRL with abbreviation. I can also add well-being as one word. I can also add it as being well or well-being as 2 words, and I'll put those in parentheses as well. So it could be well-being. So that could be well-being or being well, or living quality of living. So again, there are different ways to render this. You may dispute what numbers I'm using for the near operator, but again, just to illustrate how you might use these features, these precision operators within this platform. So I can go back to check if there's any other questions. Not yet. Okay. So again, title, abstract search, XB, click search here. Okay, yeah, another question from Sally, a comment there. If you want to exclude a term, for example, exclude systematic reviews from your results, so you only get primary studies, how do you do that as there's no combined with not in the search history? So yes, there may be other ways you can do that. It might be a case of choosing the set number and using the rows above. So you've got not here as a Boolean operator. So you probably put the set number and not, and then ensure that you know the default mesh or CINAHL heading search. So for example, or publication type even. So we'd have to look those up. So we've got publication type here. So you could choose that option and add the set number here. So you could try that out yourself, but we could, if we got time, we maybe explore that before we go, but we'll just see how we get on here. So not is available within these rows. And by the way, you can add up to 12 rows here. So if you prefer to enter terms line by line, you can do that and use the appropriate Boolean operator to combine, etc. So we've got quality of life, and now we'll do the final set here, which is the equivalent CINAHL headings. So I'm going to click new search here this time, and then go to CINAHL headings, and then just start off with quality of life. Okay, and then you can see quality of life appears as the main term. I can click on that term. Again, the scope note, very short, just the general well-being of the individual. We can select it here. And if we scroll down, you'll see it where it sits in the hierarchy of terms. Also includes comfort and occupation, human, and quality of working life as well, with the explode option selected. So if I just quickly add that to the search, click search, and then we can combine with the Boolean or the subject search. Sorry, this way, or the keyword search with the subject search, and group them together with the OR operator, combine with OR, and then click search here. So that, in a sense, will complete the elements of PICO that we're exploring, which is relates to the patient or problem, population, the intervention, and of course the outcome rather than comparison. So what I can do now is reorder the set. So click ID, you can see where we started from. So we've got the first combined element that we want to combine with the others, which relates to adult cancer patients who are experiencing fatigue, etc. So we formed 3 searches for that. We've got the meditation and related terms, the typographic search with the CINAHL heading search, and then we have the final set, the outcome, which relates to quality of life. So both the equivalent keywords and also the subject search. So we've got 3 elements to combine. We can split all 3 sets, and we can use the combine with and feature here and click search here. So what we'll see here is the final set of results. So we've got 344 records. Okay. And I mentioned this earlier. Now we can apply filters to this as well. So at the moment, we've got this final subset of results, 344, but we can apply other filters as well. For example, you've got the dates filter here. So for example, if we're looking at the last 10 years, or we want to specify a date range, we can do that here with month and year or just year. But we can go for example, the last 10 years. Okay, so we've got 231 records. And we can also, if we prefer, we can also add language as well. Now, depending on how you want to search, etc. But we've got English, just to illustrate additional filters that there are. There are more in CINAHL and MEDLINE. So for example, you've got age filter here. Okay, and also you've got gender. Now, if you use those filters alone, then you are limiting or filtering results to content that's been indexed with the appropriate either CINAHL heading or the mesh term. So these filters are using the subject index terms to identify the age group or gender group, which means that if you have a header print articles in process records, they would not be picked up because they would not be fully indexed. So you may find some references, if I just come out of this, for example, item 1, there are no subject terms listed here. So this is published in April 2026. It has not been indexed yet. So obviously, if you use filters that use the indexing, for example, this one here, item 2 has the subject terms. These are CINAHL headings, but it also mentions the age group. So age groups are part of the index. So again, if those terms are not assigned to an article and you use that filter, you will not retrieve that article. So arguably, you could say it's better just to factor in the age group in a search. So for adults, you saw what I did earlier. Okay. Unfortunately, there's still other things to cover, so I want to move on here. But if we're satisfied with that, or if we go back, I'm just going to just limit to English language just to illustrate this. Then once we've got our results, we're finally satisfied with that. We've got English language articles published over the last 10 years. We've got 225 references. So you see that number given. And then if we scroll to the next, now it's going to take me a while to get to these pages, but bear with me. And this is going to change shortly as well. You will be able to view up to 500 records from a result list as well. It's changing from 50 to 500. That should be released in the coming month or so. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these quickly. Could have restricted it further just to illustrate this, but wanted to highlight the deduplicated figure at the end of the results set. Okay, so bear with me as I do this. We're not going to go look at the processing results. As I mentioned, we'll talk about that in part 2. So I know it's a bit tedious because it's 50 at a time, but that will change in due course. So 200 here, and now I'm going to go on to 225. So it just should be at the end of the result set. Here. Now, what I'll also mention, I am only searching one single database. So at the moment, let me see. Yeah, so not surprisingly, it says you've reached the end of the results. A total of 225 unique result records were presented after deduplication. So it's saying there that these results are unique. Now, if I search CINAHL and MEDLINE simultaneously, you would end up with a unique set which is based on deduplication for both databases. In other words, if the same article appears in MEDLINE, it would not appear. That number would change. Okay, so you end up with a unique list of records, a number of records based on deduplication. But we are searching across only one database, and these are unique records. Okay. Then just want to highlight where you would see that figure. So top total count at the beginning, the deduplicated figure at the end of the result list in theory, obviously depending on if you're searching more than one database as well. So I did mention a couple of things as well about the search itself. You can, of course, if you need to restart the search or you just simply need to delete a set number, you have the delete option, and hopefully it won't do that. It will just give me the option to, why is it not doing it now? Interesting. Yeah, it's just a bit delayed there. So it's asking me, am I sure what to delete this line, which I don't, of course, but it does prompt you if you want to do that. But you can, of course, clear the search history completely if you need to by selecting all sets and choosing the icon there, the trash can or the dustbin, depending on where you're coming from. Okay, culturally. So again, that option is now available. And again, you can save the set here, for example, the final set, and that will be saved in the save folder. Okay, so again, I'm going to talk more about that in the next session, part 2. So you can see this has been saved now. Okay, so that is an option there. So we'll look more about the processing of the search. I know there's still some things I need to cover with you, and that includes the use of the filters. So I'm going to jump back in the next 5 minutes, hopefully cover this with you. And there's quite a few records there. Okay, so we've had a look at the search. So we've used the PICO framework, PICO framework primarily for our searches. Now, when I did this originally, I didn't factor adults. I applied the filter, but on second thoughts, I better use the actual searching. So again, this just outlines the search history and how I've combined the title object search with the preferred subject headings, etc., and then ultimately combine them at the end of this result list. For those who are new to CINAHL MEDLINE or just want to get familiar again with the syntax, we do have these help sheets. It gives you the description, how you'd use them, etc. So again, they're available for both CINAHL and MEDLINE, whichever database you're using, or both. And the syntax is essentially the same. Some of the examples may be slightly different. So just moving on briefly then to the search filters. There are some available, obviously, there are available for both CINAHL and MEDLINE. So for CINAHL, we have an evidence-based practice checkbox or tick box. So that allows you to filter results based on articles that are from evidence-based practice journals or about evidence-based practice, also research articles that include systematic reviews, and also commentaries on research studies. So basically, you're filtering quite quickly to high-quality literature. So again, this may be something you do initially to find what's out there. For MEDLINE, this is somewhat more restrictive or limited because these EBM reviews are related to the following 6 titles. So when you select this option, it relates to reviews in the Cochrane database, ACP Journal Club, clinical evidence, evidence-based mental health and nursing, and health technology assessment. So again, it's a way to limit your search to a small set of titles that apply strict criteria, so you're including high quality evidence-based content. So again, it may be you'll do a broader search initially to see what's been done before or what's out there, and it may be through this literature you identify particular terms that you should be using to explore the evidence, etc. Now, both CINAHL and MEDLINE have clinical queries filters. These have been developed with the Health Information Research Unit at McMaster University in Canada. So these include for CINAHL, therapy, prognosis, review, quantitative research, and causation or etiology. And you see with the screenshot for each of these strategies, each of these research areas, there are 3 strategies. High sensitivity, which is the broadest search, high specificity, the most targeted search, and then the best balance between the two. So I'll show you where you can find that information. So just to give an example for therapy, you can see the strategy that's been created that's behind the scenes for high sensitivity. So using the MH, the CINAHL heading, also title or abstract as well. Truncation also factored there when searching within the title or abstract. High specificity there, you can see, and also the best balance, which is using a combination of title or abstract searching with the subject search, treatment outcomes, and also the publication type as well. So there are specific search strategies that have been developed behind each of these strategies, as it were, these areas. And for Medline, there's additional ones like cost and economics, again, with 3 strategies for each: high sensitivity, specificity, best balance, and so on. And to give you further examples, we have diagnosis here. Again, you can see how that's created in the background. So when you select these filters or these limiters, it's actually running the search strategy that you see displayed. So for diagnosis high specificity, it's title or abstract, TI or AB. So I'm conscious of the time. So what I'll just briefly show is where to find that information. So I am now going to go and share my screen again. So this time I've gone back to the landing page, and you'll see here for CINAHL, we've got evidence-based practice there. So this is what you apply when you add the search here. You can apply that filter and click search, and it will restrict to the aforementioned items. Okay. If you look at clinical queries, then you scroll down, you'll find that is also on the same page, and you see the various research areas like therapy, prognosis, review, etc., and the corresponding strategies here. I won't share how that's used now just for the sake of time, but basically you can enter your search terms and apply these filters here. If we just jump to Medline, I'll show the equivalent in Medline as well. So I'm just going to jump here, switch over here. So again, on the same page, you'll see the filters. There's EBM reviews, and there's also clinical queries. Of course, it has more research areas covered, including the costs and economics as well. So again, these can be applied maybe in the first instance, as I mentioned earlier, to identify what's been done before, and also to give you additional clues as to what searches will be available. Okay, so I'm conscious of the time here, so I won't dwell on that too much, but I will stop here and also share my slide deck once more. So just to clarify then, obviously one of the big issues that we've had in terms of the EBSCOhost interface developments is meeting the PRISMA guidance, etc., checklists and so on. So again, this is just the 2020 checklist, as you can see there, with the methods section highlighted and the ability to identify the database you're searching. Obviously, deduplication, I mentioned that, again, especially if you're searching across databases, multiple databases, etc. So again, that we are aware of the needs there. And as I mentioned, there are numerous other changes coming in the next few weeks or so, couple of months. So if you want an updated list of what's coming soon, we have this help sheet, and it's a bit small on screen there, but new EBSCO user interface updates for advanced search and systematic review. So again, this is where we're endeavoring to support the more advanced in-depth searching that you need to perform on this interface for CINAHL and MEDLINE. Okay, so just some brief take-home points. Obviously, you can use a variety of frameworks. You have to use PICO. Just one example I've shown you today to construct the search strategy. We are looking at free text searching and subject searching. You can see how you can use suggested terms to identify subject headings now through the new interface. And also, of course, we have the title abstract fill code as well. Important to use the EBSCO syntax as well. You may find that other platforms syntax can be used, but the results may not be what you expect. And also, just briefly introduce you there to the methodological filters. Again, that would help you to identify key articles and for future search terms that you might want to when you're rerunning the search itself. So training support, I've included some key documents, a couple of new ones there. I didn't get to show you all of this, but if you're looking at editing searches, again, you can revisit this with the help sheet there, and also, again, the reference to the hit counts, how they're calculated, etc. And of course, for anything else, you can go into connect.ebsco.com, the EBSCO Connect website, and that has the tutorials there included and additional FAQs in relation to the new interface and so on. We have one more thing to show. That's the EBSCO Healthcare Training Resources portal. So I'm endeavoring to include additional content on this site. It gives you links to the training videos and also the upcoming sessions. So we'll be adding more sessions, looking to develop these further as new changes take place, and also the additional support information with new guides, etc. So those are available through this site. So any other questions or comments or feedback at this time? I will note what's been said or commented on already, and I will endeavor to collate those and put more information, more flesh to those answers that I gave as well. So I know there's a lot to comment on. And of course, you can contact me directly if you need to follow up this session at rcrooks@ebsco.com. As you can appreciate, there are more changes coming, so we'll be updating these sessions in the coming days, weeks, as it were. Okay, thanks for your time, and thanks to all those who posed the questions, made comments, etc. Appreciate that. Thank you.